Hey everybody, Icy Cat here. This time we're going to be taking a closer look at the newest Hong Kong defender, Lesion. We'll go over his loadout, explain all the ways his gadget works or how it doesn't, and give you all the information you need to make the most use of him in the game. Lesion is a new defender in the Hong Kong CTU. He's a 2-speed, 2-armor operator, and his primary loadout begins with the T5 submachine gun. It does fairly average damage with a 30-round capacity. It's fairly fast and accurate, and overall a pretty solid SMG. His other primary weapon is going to be the 612 combat shotgun. This is a semi-automatic, silenced shotgun. The silencer is built in, you can't remove it. It's a bullpup configured weapon with a 6-round cylinder. You can pop it in and out just like a magazine. So it gives you fast firing and fast reload, and the damage is okay, but it can be a little underwhelming unless you're up close. He shares the same pistol with fellow Hong Kong attacker Ying. For secondary gadgets, he can take impact grenades, which are a very good choice that will increase his ability to move throughout the map and engage targets, or open up good lines of sight. Alternatively, you can go with his deployable shield. This can combo effectively with his ability, and we'll go over that a little bit more later. Lesion's special gadgets are these poison mines that he'll throw out. They're self-righting devices, which means when you throw them out, even if they land on their side or whatever, the legs will deploy and attempt to pop itself up vertically. If for any reason it's blocked from being able to do so due to an invalid placement, then you'll have to pick it up and try to redeploy it as the gadget is not actually armed in that state. Once it does arm, you will know right away the top pops off and it cloaks. The mine turns completely invisible. His supply of gadgets work in a kind of interesting way. They essentially become available over time. It's almost as if he's building another one as the round goes on. This happens about every 30 seconds or so, up to a maximum of 7 mines if you last that long over the duration of the round. When the mine is thrown out, you get an icon on the HUD. This shows you where your mine is so you can see it at all times. Only Lesion is aware of this icon. The other defensive operators cannot see this. This is really useful because you can use these as improvised motion sensors. Essentially, you can keep an eye on where you have them. When one of them disappears, you'll know that it's either been taken out or stepped on, and that there's some attacker action happening at that location. If you respond quickly, you can also get the flank on them knowing where they are, or you can just relay that information to the rest of your team. When an attacker steps on a mine, they will take 10 points of contact damage, and then a further 8 points of damage every few seconds thereafter. They will continue to take that damage until they reach 0. If they have not reached a down but not out state yet, they will do so at that point. If they have already reached a down but not out state before that happens, then when they reach 0, they can actually die. On the attacking side of the coin, the screen will turn green when you've stepped on that. In addition to taking that base damage, your character is also unable to sprint. You can only walk until you remove the dart. It puts you into an animation where you remove it, but you are going to be vulnerable while doing so. It forces you to look downward. It does take both hands, so you won't have your weapon available or your shield if you have one of those. So be careful when and where you do it. But until you extract that dart, you will continue to take damage. You can cluster multiple mines in a small area and attackers will step on them. Every time they do so, they will take the 10 damage. However, it doesn't matter how many they step on, they will still lose the same 8 hit points every few seconds thereafter. There's not like a stacked increase rate on that. Common places to throw the mines are going to be in bottleneck areas, so these are going to be high traffic paths where you know that an attacker is likely to run through. This works really well for creating that motion sensor type field that we were talking about before. It's also highly effective to use them when you're anchoring the objective and you're trying to make it so that they can't rush in and take it. You do need to be careful when you place them in doorways though, because those are logical bottleneck points. However, if you put up a barricade over the top of a mine, you will actually destroy the mine in the process. So if you're going to want to barricade that door, make sure that you put the mine either just in front of or behind the threshold of the door so you can safely put up that barricade. And while we're talking about anchoring on the objective, a special note needs to be made for hostage mode. Lesion's mines can in fact hurt the hostage. So if an attacker grabs the hostage and tries to extract them and causes the hostage to be stepped on the mine, even though the attacker is moving the hostage, it counts against the defender. So it is possible for a defender to wind up losing the match because the hostage was taken out by one of the mines. This may well be changed in a future patch to make it so that that's not an issue, but as of right now, that is something you need to be careful of. Lesion is a very strong anti-shield operator. Even if a shield is crouching on the ground with the shield right in front of them, once the shield steps over that invisible mine, it will still trigger, hit them in the feet, and they will have to deal with that. If they don't and they stay behind that shield, they're going to continue to take damage until they take it out and deal with it, which is going to leave them vulnerable. Even when Monty's fully extended behind his shield wall, he will still face the same situation. He can stay behind there if he wants, but until he deals with the problem, he's going to continue to take damage. One interesting tactic you can take is if you have him kind of bottled up in a corner, if you angle your throw just right and toss it into the gap behind the top of the shield, it can fall down behind, deploy, and even though he hasn't stepped forward, he can still activate it because it's behind the shield at that point. This sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. It depends on if the mine itself gets caught on the character hitbox or any other geometry. But if it has the ability to fall down to the floor and land flat, it will deploy and go off. Another great place that you can put his mines are on top of trapdoors. Anyone that's going to come up to one and put on a breaching charge or a thermite charge or something like that, stepping on one of these will alert you that somebody is in that position, and it will also cause them to have taken a little bit of damage in doing so. Another way you can use the mines are to create exploits where when somebody vaults over something, they're going to land on one. This can be done one of a couple of different ways. Here's an example shown using a deployable shield combo. Because the vaulting animation carries you over the top of it a little bit, you're going to want to set it back just enough so that where they land is where they'll step on it, but doing so will create a situation where the attacker is going to have to deal with that, and that leaves them vulnerable. Another way you can deal with vaults is if you put them over a surface that a character might vault over. The vaulting animation itself will carry the character over the mine and create the damage. This can also work for windowsills, but again, be careful if you're going to re-barricade that window that you don't destroy it and that you place it more toward the further edge of the ledge. It is, however, possible to combo this with frost traps to get insta-kills. Essentially, the way this is going to work is that if an attacker triggers the frost trap, they'll be caught in it, and then they will hit the poison mine and it will kill them. But you have to do this in a very specific way. If you throw the mine too close to the trap or actually on the trap, the frost trap is going to supersede the poison effect and it won't stack. What you want to do is look for this sweet spot, and you're going to put it about a foot or two in front of the trap. What happens is in the animation, the operator's legs kick out forward. When they do that, the trap is considered to be fully engaged. At that point, if it hits Lesion's mine, then it will be considered an instant kill. You have to get the placement of this just right though. If you're too close, it won't stack and it will only count as the frost trap even though the mine goes off. Another thing you can do is toss these outside. If you have some known lanes the attackers are going to funnel through, you can toss one out there, and then when they trigger it, you can pop up and get the kill. You have to be very close to these mines to set them off. It's going to be pretty situational, but you can actually create murder holes for your mines. If you have reason to believe that an attacker is going to be pressed up against a wall, you can make a small murder hole in the floor, set up the mine next to it. It can actually be on the other side of the wall as long as it's very close. If that attacker is brushed up against that wall and passes right in front of that murder hole, you can actually get a successful detonation on the mine. Some maps may have very narrow choke points for this, or you can create a path of barbed wire which blocks off an area and then they would go for the path of least resistance. So it is possible to funnel people through certain areas and trigger them in this way. So these traps are definitely very powerful, but how do you counter them? Well, there's actually a variety of ways you can do this. Thatcher's EMP grenades will instantly destroy these mines. Although the darts themselves are not electronic, the cloaking technology is, and an EMP grenade will overload the entire device, destroying it instantly. Twitch can also disable the mines. If you can find them, she can shoot them out. Now, it should be noted that actually having a drone in that lower perspective does make it a little bit easier to spot the mines. They're very difficult to see with the naked eye, but from a drone's perspective at that lower camera angle, it is a little easier to see the distortion field the cloak creates. Another operator whose ability will be a direct counter to this is IQ. She has the ability to spot them through their cloak no problem, and once she knows where they are, she can take them out. If your pistol is silenced, you'll be able to do so without having your position given away by any threat indicator arrows on the defender's screens. One other thing to be aware of is that your mine will also be destroyed if you get it too close to any bandit shock wire or reinforced walls that have batteries attached to them. So that wraps up this operator profile on how to best use Lesion. He's a very solid new operator and creates a lot of possibilities, whether you use his devices like motion sensors to detect where the attackers are pushing from, or you set up as an anchor and really solidly reinforce that objective location. There's lots of creative ways to use his ability. I've been getting asked a lot since Blood Orchid came out which of the 3 new operators is my favorite, and I know a lot of people like Ella. I think she is great, but overall, I have a lot of fun with Lesion's gadget, and I think he might be my actual favorite of the 3. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, or shoot me a message over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. Also, make sure you click that notification icon so you get alerted as soon as I upload new content. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.